In this section of the course, we're going to be taking a deeper dive look into IP addressing, and specifically, we're going to look at IP addressing version 4, so IPv4. Now, before we get into all the details of that, I want to spend a few minutes and I want to talk about IP addresses and MAC addresses and just review what we discussed up to this point in the course. So IP addresses, what are they? Remember, this is that dotted decimal format that we see, the 192.168.100.25, and this is the logical address that's assigned to our system by the network. Now on the flip side, the MAC address, that's the physical address that's burnt into the network interface card and we can't change it. Now, they operate on different OSI layers, so our IP addresses operate on OSI layer 3, which is our network layer, because they deal with networking addressing. And on the flip side, MAC addresses are on the OSI layer 2, our physical addresses at the data link layer. Now, how do they operate? How do they allow us to communicate? Well, with our IP addressing, this is for network-to-network communication with routers. So we're talking about wide area network communication. And remember, routers communicate with IP addresses, and that's what IP addressing is all about. Now, on the other side, there is communication within a local area network. So with our routers, our hubs and switches within only that local area network. That is where our MAC addresses come into place. And remember, we have our switches that communicate with MAC addresses and they build that MAC address table. So that's where we use our MAC addresses for our local area network communication on switches and hubs and never exiting our router to another network. So that's IP addresses and MAC addresses. Now let's go ahead and let's take a look at the anatomy and do a quick review of the anatomy of an IP version 4 address. So here's a picture of an IPv4 address broken down into details. And what we see with the naked eye, we see that dotted decimal format, that 192.168.1.131. However, this converts into binary numbers. So that's where we see these ones and zeros on the screen. The computer interprets it as ones and zeros, and it converts it into this dotted decimal format that we can better understand. You could simply type in the binary math information in here and convert this into a dotted decimal. And it's very simple binary math. However, it's beyond the scope of this course. But if you wanted to look at that and you wanted to convert it on your own, you can go ahead and do some research and do the binary math and look it up. It's very simple. Now, when we look at this, we want to look at the binary numbers here. And what you'll see is that they're broken up into 4 different portions. And these are each octets because there's 8 bits in each one. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bits for each octet. 8 bits equals 1 byte, and 1 byte equals 1 octet. So that's why I call this an octet. You can call it 8 bits, 1 byte, or 1 octet. But it's commonly referred to as an octet. Now, if we add all these up together, we have a total of 32 bits. And if you do the math, if you do 2 to the power of 32, that's where we got the total amount of numbers of IP addresses that we can compute and have available with IP version 4, which is up in the billions. So that's our quick review on IP addressing. What we're going to do throughout this section is we're going to be talking in a great level of detail of how version 4 addressing works, and you're going to have a better idea of the anatomy of it and the capabilities and just a really strong overview of IPv4 addressing by the end of this section.